Yep.
So yeah, wow. Okay. What is the crack? What's going on? Okay, Praetorium.
Talk about your journey finishing Final Fantasy.
I wish I could share my messenger messages to you as I was doing Praetorium, but you know what? Maybe
not do that. But also, I had the same thought earlier. It's like, man, I'd love to just show them.
Yeah, some good shit. It's that thing where, you know, the ultimate weapon is like defeated the first time about half an hour into Praetorium, and I'm like, oh, yeah, and then it all happens, and I text Matt, shid and cumb, we explode. So guess what part of Praetorium that was? Okay, so the first thing about Praetorium that I do have to say is this situation, right? So I am doing current Praetorium. Now that means if I forget to pick up the the little key code thing, and it all goes a bit wrong and I get lost, I get zooped forward for the rest of the team. There's the shortcuts. If a boss fight's encountered, a little dialogue box pops up that lets you teleport to that. So there's 1 or 2 points I did get behind my team because it was 2 sprouts, 6 vets, I believe, in our run. I do have footage of this. It was captured in the PS4 or 5, so I don't actually know how to get it out of the PS5. I'm sure there's a way. So yeah. I was doing this current version of Praetorium. In the current version of Praetorium, right, you can't skip the cutscenes. And that means that it's optimized for me. It's optimized for the sprouts who are going through it. Now, it's by no means a perfect experience because when everyone's just rocketing through it and yeah, you're not really doing stuff. And then you get to the fights and whatever it is with the scaling, you know, it's like, oh, hello there, Nero. Oh dear, Nero lasted about 2 seconds. Although, you know, it was a pretty cool weapon and like some nice stuff. And yeah, all of that. So for a whole bunch of people, as Matt says here, Praetorium used to have cutscenes that were skippable, so players would rocket ahead and leave sprouts behind.
Yep, my experience was very, very different. And actually, I know there's a certain content creator who plans a Praetorium video that seems to have a very similar experience to me back in the day, which is very much
Taliesin.
Yeah, Taliesin, yeah. And that's really like, it was fucking horrible. It was an awful experience because what happened to me was... you know, just cutscene, zero context for anything that happened in the middle because all the players did that while I was watching the cutscene. And then I would get in the middle of a dynamic, interesting, action-heavy cutscene. Things are happening. Pay attention. This is the climax of the story. A little pings like, the area will be sealed off in 15 seconds. And I'm like, fuck, they just started the boss.
Yeah.
And before that cutscene ends, I see the next one because they've started the next boss. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
I got that, message, but then I could hit a button and then boom, I'm at the boss. Yeah. So this is not the Praetorium experience that I think most people who have done the Praetorium have got, because I think this stuff's relatively recent.
I can't remember when they made the cutscenes unskippable.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just talk about my experience. Take it for what it is. It does not reflect Matt's and other people who've done Praetorium.
Oh yeah, it is literally, mine was an era where they had a big problem.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, this is a really shit experience for all new players. We'll fix it. And then they changed it in a way that now makes it significantly better. Like, I wish I had the same experience you had.
So here is what Praetorium taught me. Not taught me, because I already fucking knew it, but really, it was just a nice little reinforcement of it. Especially because what was in my head was Sanctum of Domination.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Praetorium is not an endgame raid. Like, coils.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the different experiences that I had. And, I mean, experientially, there's aspects of Praetorium, at least from the narrative side, and the getting me hyped about the world and the characters and the things that I'm doing, that vastly exceeded Sanctum of Domination. And that's going to seem insane to some WoW people. But I just say, imagine the runtime of the Praetorium cutscenes, like even the voice actor cutscenes and stuff. Imagine that runtime and all of that, but applied to Thrall and Jaina and Sylvanas, right? Instead of a 2-minute long thing where Sylvanas, has another wee moment, as she is like to do, because it's Sylvanas, she's a bit of an odd written character, and then gets her soul back and she faints. We just get 2 minutes of just teasing. I mean, the difference in Praetorium was the characters talked, and my character was talking with them. I was actually there and important. And it's definitely not the whole, oh, you're a small adventurer, or you're a nobody in a big world. No, it is, you're the warrior of light. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, do it well, and they do. Even with Praetorium being odd. Because it is odd. I mean, there's only voice acting for the last half. Well, what gives with that? Suddenly, Cid has no voice. Now Cid has a voice. Huh? It's like, even with all of that jank, and even with the fights not really lasting long enough to see any of the mechanics, and the fights being, not great. Let's be real. I mean, they're not awful. It's just like they're barely even fights in some cases. Even with all of those very obvious criticisms that you can absolutely make about Praetorium, and I think be dead right on them, the overall thing worked, because it actually turns out that even with that jank and all of that other stuff, it's games are more than just mechanics. Yeah. We've got to that point where games are experiences. It's not just a set of mechanics like you're playing Pong or something. No, it's like, for me, it had characters that, sure, they're going to be a lot more fleshed out over time from what I understand, because this is the Final Fantasy team at a point where they are rebuilding a game while also patching 1.0 and trying to have a culmination of 1.0 that is respecting the investment of the 1.0 players. So even with all of those challenges and stuff, it's like, yeah, the camera goes on Gaius. Gaius talks. There are conversations. He even talks with me personally, my character, and it works. I feel connected to the world in a way where in World of Warcraft, I feel like a disconnected gameplay object. And look, I like the WoW gameplay. I love Painsmith. Give you a pound for every time somebody in this stream has said Painsmith is cool, because I think that's been, most of the WoW discourse in the last few months has just been, Painsmith's a great fight, isn't it, guys? Yeah, Painsmith's great. It's as if we're clinging on to Painsmith as like, it's our last bastion of hope. We can have Painsmiths in this game. But yeah, it's that thing where with Praetorium, the narrative stuff was working. And I just think, imagine just that amount of narrative being in the stuff with WoW, And there are some fundamental things where, in World of Warcraft, they don't have lip sync. They don't have auto lip sync, or, that sort of thing that they do seem to have in FF14. And that's engine differences, right? Yeah. Because Blizzard characters are basically made of, building blocks. They're not dynamic in a way that a character made in a quite a bit more modern system works. But whatever it is, like the end result for me as a player is I can have these experiences, and there's times where I imagine, right, it's going to all feel very believable and very real in the expansions. There are times where there's a little bit of jank. There's not the voice acting here. There is the voice acting there. So it feels like it's the sort of, maybe you're watching theater and you do need to suspend your disbelief just that little, a little bit more or something. But it works. It does fundamentally work. And it hits me, with the story. And, Ultima Weapon is destroyed the first time. And Lambus Bread, Lebrun, what do you call him? The Ascian.
Well, his name's La Habrea, but...
La Habrea, yeah. La Habrea comes, and the stuff happens, and then it's big, and there's a big boom, and then the stuff, and then you meet Hydaelyn.
You get all the important dialogue.
Yeah, and it was all like, it wasn't just like, woo, Cosmos. It was all explored, like, in a way so directly tied to my character, and that character's story. And that meant that it was exciting and cool and mattered to me. And then there's the bit where they flash the fucking purple crystal. And I'm like, Lebrun, no Zodiark, that's my server. And I mean, I kind of know a little bit with Zodiark. But then I remember I was like, hang on. So if Hydaelyn is light, but then I watched the Shadowbringers, trailer, There's a sort of nasty looking light person. And then I'm just, the gears start turning. I'm like, oh, they are setting up a lot of shit that's going to be important later. And yeah, so it just worked. And like, there's somebody in chat there that said, I fell asleep playing the FF14 quest line. Yeah. So, okay. This little segment is me talking about Praetorium. I'll zoom out and I'll talk about an ARR experience in a little bit, because I had pros and cons during ARR. Absolutely. As the FF14 community absolutely told me I would. Yep. But for doing Praetorium, yeah, not that bad. The modern changes they've made, they certainly are a bit weird. Like, you can very easily, forget the key, or not the key card, but the bit before you get in the little mech.
Yeah, the ID thing.
The ID thing, yeah. But I like that. And then I liked how, spectacle wise, right? This is a thing, spectacle wise. It's quite funny. The end fight against Sylvanas, and it's a bit tricky because Sylvanas is just a person, right?
Yep.
But the mechanics of Sylvanas aren't that cool. I think we can pretty much all agree that Sylvanas was a very lame fight that just wasn't cool enough for the character. And it's like, I even compare that to just like, yeah, Ultima weapons fully powered up. It's really big. It's just really big. There's been a big explosion. There's big things going on.
Also, guys, is golden for some reason.
Yeah, it's just big, and it's got an element of theater and a spectacle, where it turns out the gameplay mechanics are extremely important in a video game. Absolutely, and one of the best things about WoW in many cases is its gameplay mechanics. Maybe not systems, but hey, we've had good news in some of those things in today's stream, so thumbs up there. But there was spectacle and theater that were done very well. And I guess another thing where it feels like in World of Warcraft, quest text and that stuff is done by the quest designers, but in FF it's like it's done by writers. Well, and that's just legit just people with different job descriptions and different backgrounds and stuff. But I mean, I think it's good for the writing.
Different specialities, by design.
And then after words are hard. And after this, we're going to hop into supers. After that, like there's more, as it turns out. I got a nice little epilogue, and it's all good. Yeah.
You get characters talking about the state of the world after you've hit the narrative climax.
Yeah. Instead of, and this is what I was joking about with Matt, that thing in say Battle for Azeroth, where we get like a 2-hour quest line, and then it's like, all right, I wish I could do Nikki's comedic Magni impression. That'd be so good.
The wounds, champion, the wounds.
Yeah, and it's just like, I do a quick little 2-hour story. I go on Nyalotha, I fucking Dragon Ball Z in Azoth. We get a shot-for-shot remake of The Fall of Mordor. I go back to Magni. He's like, oh, cheers, mate. You've destroyed the big evil. You're 72 gold. Done.
Yeah.
Zilch. No epilogue. No further exploration of the state of the world and the characters.
Didn't have time. Didn't have the resources. Sorry.
In FF,
doesn't matter.
In FF, I got that, and it made it feel like my character was more in the world, and this group I'm in, I mean, come on. Compare the Scions of the Seventh Dawn to the Champions of Azeroth.
Wait, the Champions of Azeroth, was that not...
Oh, Magni's faction in BFA.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he had a faction. I thought it was just him.
Yeah, you maybe forgot that. There's the faction war going on, but we're members of the Champions of Azeroth, and, while we're warring with each other, we're also healing wounds and doing things to say...
Yeah, it's a completely different thing.
You can just tell there's an institutional focus on like spectacle and theater and storytelling within the FF team that is quite simply not present